a massive story is breaking as we sit here this morning. According to Woj, it's a Woj bomb.
Stay hard.
The LA Lakers and Golden State Warriors held trade talks about LeBron James joining the Warriors. And as this story unfolds and as Woj is telling it, the Golden State Warriors, at the behest of Draymond Green, who shares Clutch Sports' Rich Paul as an agent with LeBron James, Draymond Green lobbied Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, to call Jeannie Buss, while at the same time, Draymond was working back channels with Rich Paul to reach out to LeBron to try and convince him to leave the Lakers and join the Warriors for a playoff run this season. Now, the Lakers and LeBron both said they weren't interested in leaving LA at this point. I think the big conversation here is LeBron eventually is likely, I think, to leave the Lakers. But Jeannie Buss told Joe Lacob, according to Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN, that she had no interest in trading LeBron. And LeBron apparently told Rich Paul behind the scenes that he had no interest in leaving the Lakers. Jake, how surprised are you by this news?
I think the Warriors have always been an organization that's willing to go out and, make the call or basically just stick their neck out there and see what they can get back. And I think, the answer is no 100% of the time if you don't ask. And that's what I think the strategy here is. Hey, let's go and let's see if we can figure out a way to make this happen. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen, but the fact that you had the thought to go out and try to get LeBron for a playoff stretch run is I think is great. I think that's where the mindset of a team like the Warriors should be at. I mean, it's been an absolute grind for them this year, and they've been improving. And I think Klay Thompson's turned it around quite a bit, and Jonathan Kuminga has definitely stepped into his own role on that team and obviously is doing good things for them. But there is no replacing a guy like LeBron. And obviously LeBron and Steph have had their epic playoff 7-game series battles in the past, and they have a great relationship, and it would be a no-brainer if all parties were interested. But honestly, I look at this and I say, this, you can't tell me this would have just been the Warriors and the Lakers in a straight up trade. I have to think, because of all the money, because of all the assets that you would move around in that deal, that would probably have a third team in it. And I think that's the part that's really interesting to me. What could have been for those secondary teams if LeBron, and the Lakers decided to execute this trade?
Yeah, I think it is a big deal. And, looking at LeBron, I think he is still performing at a very high level. And you start to understand the money he's making. He's got a $50 million player option next season. And from what I understand, they were talking about a deal centered on Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga would have been the two going back. And I think, just reading the tea leaves, Chris Paul would have been included in that deal to make the salaries work. The Lakers would have gotten an inordinate amount of draft capital. And I agree with you. I think a third team would have had to been involved in that because it would be very difficult to unload 3 players and a bunch of picks and only get one in return. That's a very difficult trade to make in the NBA. But I think it shows you if they were willing to give up Kuminga and a bunch of picks, the Warriors were serious about doing this deal. Note that Klay Thompson was not involved in that trade. From what I understand, he was not involved in that deal. Just texting with NBA people this morning, it seems like that deal was centered on Wiggins, Kuminga, and Chris Paul, a bunch of draft capital, and LeBron James. Mm-hmm. And if I'm the Warriors, that makes all the sense in the world. And hey, listen, if it wasn't LeBron that we were talking about, if I'm the Lakers, I mean, that makes some sense, not a lot of sense. Right now, you look at where they are. You look at the amount of effort and energy they put out last night in their 125-111 win over the Pistons. Anthony Davis is playing at a very high level. They're not as far out of the playoff picture, I think, as we would all have them. Obviously, now they are a game up on Golden State in the 10th spot. They're 2 behind the Warriors, or excuse me, the Kings for the 8th spot, who lost to the Suns last night. I just think this is a wild moment in time, and it shows you the difference between the teams who just want to play NBA games and the teams who care about winning every single NBA game they play.
Mm-hmm.
And the Warriors and the Lakers are committed. And I know that this is unpopular in a lot of corners of the country. The Warriors and the Lakers are the Warriors and the Lakers because they care about winning every single possession. Not every game, every trip down the floor, they care about winning.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what separates the Warriors, the Lakers, from teams like the Chicago Bulls, from teams like the Utah Jazz, from teams like the San Antonio Spurs. I think there's a very clear delineation between the elites in this league. And you can sit here and tell me it's all about TV money and players and attractiveness and free agent. And I'm going to tell you that's a bunch of hooey, because I'm telling you it's ownership, management, and players that give a damn about every single possession on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Lakers and the Warriors are those two teams.
And it's funny how all the best players want to go to the teams that seem to win the most, and those teams win the most because they care the most about winning. So it's not that they just are in a bigger market. They care, and they want to perform at the highest level. And I think, a lot of people question the Lakers culture, and specifically, post Kobe Bryant and sort of that window between Kobe and, but the window between when Kobe retired and Bron joined the team, there was a window in time there where the Lakers were just floundering. They were not, this perennial playoff, NBA Finals threat out of the Western Conference. And so now we're in a situation where it's been a rough season again. Obviously they're not where they want to be, but the problem is they're that team that is just close enough where you're like, yeah, I really don't think we should blow this up. I think we just need to play better basketball, which is exactly what Darvin Ham has been saying. And I'm not even a huge Darvin Ham guy, but I think he's right. Like, I think they have plenty of talent on the roster, but you need guys like D'Lo to get it going. And so
Austin Reeves.
Yeah, you need Austin Reeves to get it going. And so I look at this thing, if you look at the Lakers from like the Warriors perspective, yeah, the Warriors are sitting there saying, well, what do the Lakers really have to lose? I mean, they're the 9 seed or whatever they are right now.
But I also think this is the Warriors recognizing that their window is closing, as we talk about a massive breaking news story. Woj at ESPN with Ramona Shelburne is reporting that the Lakers and Warriors had trade talks right up to the deadline. Like within minutes of the deadline, Jeannie Buss and the Lakers were on the phone talking about the potential of a LeBron James trade. And it is, I think, amongst all of the stories we have today, obviously this NCAA NIL story is a big deal. The Pac-12 making significant moves to secure its future with the college football playoff. And outside of that, these are big stories. There is no bigger story than what Adrian Wojnarowski at ESPN just dropped, that the Lakers answered the phone on hey, are you guys interested in trading LeBron James? That's a big deal. That Jeannie Buss, LeBron, Draymond, and the Lakers were talking to each other, and Rich Paul was a mediator, tells you that there was more than smoke here. It tells you that there were substantive conversations about trading LeBron James at the deadline, which is just, it's mind-numbing that you have a situation like, I think it's now it's leading all of the sports talk in this country, but I think it's a huge story.
Yeah, how could it not be? It's LeBron James. I think there's a lot of questions about, what this last chapter of LeBron's career is going to look like. I think I would be really surprised if LeBron, is just playing games to play games. I think LeBron's a guy that always wants to be in the NBA Finals and almost expects to be there every single year, and it's disappointing when he's not. And so, I think the problem for LeBron is now, not only the NBA, but he himself is in a position where, he needs his teammates to truly help him to get there. It used to be that LeBron could just dominate the game and you just needed, 15 a night from role players to help him. But it's not like that anymore. So when you look at the Lakers roster, it's like, dude, Spencer Dinwiddie needs to help them off the bench a lot. Like Austin Reeves needs to get back to being that guy.
But could you ever imagine LeBron James being traded at the deadline?
No, I don't think so.
There are just some players
for calling though.
No, not at all. But there are some players that Michael Jordan's not getting traded at the deadline. Kobe, Shaq, Giannis, Steph. Like you're not trading these guys at the deadline. Luka Doncic. You're not trading these guys at the deadline.
Yeah.
Right. Like Donovan and Rudy didn't get traded at the deadline. It's wild to me that the Lakers and the Warriors, and we're a week on from the NBA trade deadline now, and Woj is dropping this story this morning, had real conversations about this.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that you never hear about is wild. Welcome back to NBA coming up in about 45 minutes. If you're just tuning in again, a massive story breaking in the NBA as you see on the screen. Woj reporting that the Lakers and Warriors had serious and substantive trade talks about LeBron James going to the Warriors in a package that may have included Kuminga, Wiggins, and Chris Paul with a haul of future draft picks. And again, Jake said it earlier. I see a lot of people just coming on the show, but Jake said it earlier. Another team probably would have had to be involved in that.
I just don't know how you would have done it without another team.
I mean, it's just
so much.
It's a wild. Gary, Gary's been saying to trade Bron for years. And the fact that the Lakers picked up the phone, I think this is an incredible moment in time.
But I also think that you have to understand, if Charlotte was calling, they probably don't pick up the phone. Right?
No,
I mean, this is
absolutely
you
not.
have to at least put some respect on the fact that it's the Lakers and the Warriors. I mean, I think that
I agree.
There's a lot of respect there, and I think that we often, on this show, I think we do a pretty good job. But I see a lot of times where people don't put enough respect and onus on the idea that, hey, guys like Steph and Clay and Dre all have great relationships with LeBron. LeBron's always been a mayor of the league, if you will, a guy that knows everybody and, is friends with guys, acquaintances with others. Like, so to me, when we say, hey, they picked up the phone on a LeBron James trade, yeah, of course. Like, I'm going to pick up the phone if an iconic franchise like the Warriors wants to talk to us. Yeah, I'm going to listen to what they have to say.
I don't think it was close. Woj is also saying that it never got close. It was never at a point where they were, they were contemplating or doing paperwork. But the fact they had conversations is wild.